Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 116 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on June 7th, 2022. How you wonderful folks doing? Man, I hope you're doing well. I am doing much better than I was when we last spoke. Man, I don't know if you tuned into that last episode, but I was sort of dragging a little bit, especially toward the end there. And I recorded that a week ago, and probably about an hour or so after I recorded that episode, I felt like complete trash. Definitely sick, yeah. Brought something back with me from NRA. Not cool. So, yeah, been on the mend since then, and thank goodness I felt good enough to get back on the horse this evening and record this for you. So I was thinking, man, I might have to skip the podcast, but then, no, man, hit that Hail Mary and got the vitamins in there, got the immune system firing on all cylinders, and I just have a little congestion right now, but other than that, I think I'll be all right, feeling good, so I'm back in the saddle, yeah. So to those of you who have been trying to get a hold of me, I apologize for the delays, guys. It's been a time. I think I'm all caught up now with emails mostly, although I did see some recently that I hadn't got to. So if you still haven't gotten a response, just hang tight. If you are a Pew Science member and you have not received a welcome email, you should very soon. So hang tight as well. Stupid, weak human body. Always vulnerable to infectious agents. It's like, the immune system is stronger for it, but man, like that part's good, but during it you're hating life, which kind of it's kind of like when you run far. Everyone hates running, right? But then when you're done running, you're like, man, that felt so good. But like during it, you're like, I want to die. It's like, you know what I mean? Anyway, no, but a lot of great things happened since the last episode. Yeah, including two great articles. Two great publications from Pew Science. I don't want to toot my horn too much for that, but I am saying that I think the information was very useful to a large portion of the community, and for that, I am thankful. Yeah. So, my goal is to help the most amount of people possible with every article I publish, and when I can do something like the recent rugged Razor556 release, it makes me smile. I like that because I know a lot of people are counting on that information. And so, we'll talk about that data in today's episode. Yeah. And speaking of helping the community, I want to thank the sponsors of the podcast. Yeah. The J Situation Podcast is proudly sponsored by Silencer Shop. You can use their kiosk, you can do your fingerprints and photos electronically, and in turn, you cut down on errors, you simplify your silencer purchasing process. Yeah, get a money-back guarantee. It's pretty good. No transfer fees, no paperwork errors, just you and your silencer with no drama. It truly is silencer ownership simplified. It is. Good folks there. The good old ye old Silencer Shop. And they could have like an E on the end, like the weird way that the British people spell it. That'd be strange. Secondly, this podcast is brought to you by True Shot Gun Club out of Arizona. That's right. And how do those folks support the podcast? Well, it's very simple, actually. There is a link to True Shot Gun Club in every show notes segment for each podcast episode there on the website or in your favorite podcast provider. If you click that link in the show notes, it takes you to their website. And if you buy ammo using that link, it helps the podcast and it helps Pew Science. That's right. And if you want to join their club and get free shipping on all the ammo that you buy from them for a whole year, like Amazon Prime, they call it A-Zone. It's very similar. If you want to do that, you get $20 off your membership with the code word Pew Science at checkout. That's right. You win, they win. You help the podcast. Very simple. Hope that helps you guys. Ammo is good. It's very important. Cannot enjoy your silencers without ammunition, so it would behoove you to purchase some. And lastly, and most importantly, this podcast is sponsored by Pew Science, pushing the silencer industry forward one test at a time. And you can visit pewscience.com for the suppression rating. It is the industry standard for silencer sound performance. It is the simplest and the most accurate hearing safe rating for your suppressed small arm weapon system, and it's based on true inner ear response of the entire gunshot from before combustion takes place all the way until all of the combustion is gone from the system. That's right. It's in Section 5 of the Silencer Sound Standard. Okay, it walks you through gunshot noise, sort of like Wikipedia, but way more fun because it's about silencer sound. And who doesn't love that? There's 7 parts. They're all on pewscience.com for you to read. And if you haven't seen it, that's okay. Skip directly to Section 5. You see the suppression rating there. It's going to let you know how silencers stack up in comparison to one another with regard to sound at the muzzle and the shooter's ear. And you get a hearing safe dose limit for the particular platforms on which the silencers are tested. Okay. The higher the number, the less risky for you, the shooter or the bystander. The lower the number, the more your ears will be at risk. That is how it works. That's right. And in Section 6, you get all the reviews, all the nitty-gritty. And if you see that and you're like, this is, frankly, Jay, this is terrifying, and I don't like what you've done with the place. This is insane. Say, no problem, fam. I understand. I got you. Section 7 has all the reviews. And, oh, my God, I was just... I was staring at my computer screen right now. My monitor went black. Some kind of crazy message just flew up on the screen, and it came back and everything was fine. I thought I lost the recording, but I didn't. What in the world? Is the CIA listening to this podcast? You know, I wonder if my FBI agent that monitors me is watching. Don't speak directly into the microphone. Like I was saying, FBI agent, wink, wink. If you would like to see all the summary of all this glorious test data that we all like because silencers are awesome and totally legal, you can go to Section 7 of the standard. It has a rankings table, and it's a simple database tool where you can sort and filter the data to your heart's content until you find something you like. You click on the link there in the table. It'll take you back to the review, and you can do a deep dive. That's right. If you're a manufacturer, or if you are an FBI agent and you would like to use PewScience for private testing and consulting services, there's a form on the website with which you can submit that inquiry. Your contact information and all the test data will be held in strict confidence. I promise, FBI, it will be. Unless, of course, you want to release it to the public, in which case I can help you do that. But let's be honest, FBI, you don't want to do that, do you? No, you want to keep it all to yourself. I know your game. You can support this podcast, PewScience, and all the testing that I do by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. You can donate on the website as well. There's a donate button. You can give a little bit, give a lot of bit, or you can give nothing at all. That's right. And something that's free, doesn't cost you anything, especially if you're in the FBI. You can give the podcast a great rating on Spotify or iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. We just want to normalize the use of suppressed small arms, Mr. FBI agent man. That's all we want to do. Please let us do that. It is our right as Americans. I have 3 topics for you today. Topic 1, sound signature review 676, the rugged Razor556 on the 556 Mark 18 AR-15 short barrel automatic weapons system. That's right, technical discussion. Should be great to go into that. I learned some stuff. We can all learn together. And then topic 2, man, boy, howdy, some member research. That's right, PewScience Member Research Supplement 677, published coincidentally there with the 676. It was a package deal. This was the Razor556 versus the Razor762 with different end caps on the Mark 18. Does it make a difference? Do you care? Should you care? PewScience members know the answer. That was for you. And then topic 3, last minute addition to the podcast. I just got the silencer in to the inventory here. The AAC Ti-RANT 9M-HD. HD? What in tarnation? What is that? Why? Why is that? Yeah. I'd talk about that. I thought it was interesting. Blast from the Past is a little bit of a reboot. So I thought that was interesting. We'll talk about that in topic 3. Okay, topic 1 at a time of 9 minutes and 30 seconds. That's a nice round number, sort of. Could be a good omen. Could be a bad one. But we're here, aren't we? Let me get a drink of water. Boy, I did not know. I did not know if I was going to be okay to do this. I'm like, man, I was dragging. Up until yesterday, actually, I was talking to some people online, DMing as it were, and emailing some people. I was like, man, I'm sorry. I feel like dog doo-doo. I was like, man, I feel crappy. And then I kind of slept a lot. You know what I find for the old immune system? Vitamin D and zinc. Like, I'm talking pound that stuff, dude. You get that in your system, and look, this isn't a health podcast. I'm certainly not a physician, so I'm not trying to give you health advice and medical advice. Don't kill the messenger here, but I will say, vitamin D and zinc, fam. I don't know what it is. It just always seems to work for me. But yeah, topic 1, sound signature review 676. And I did this while sick, by the way. When I released this, like, I was not a happy camper. I got up early to publish all this. I was dying. I held it together. This was the rugged Razor556. Man, completely. I actually thought this silencer came out of left field. It was interesting. We're going to have a technical discussion here, so strap in. Get comfortable, because I think I have a lot to say, so it's going to be a minute. It's going to be a minute here, okay? This was a highly requested silencer data set. This is a very big release, actually, for Pew Science. And this is actually Rugged's first new rifle silencer in quite some time. And a 5.56 silencer, no less. The Razor, again, now called the Razor556. Okay, so this is the second version of the Razor. There are now 2. The first was the Razor762. And we all just called it the Razor. It was actually called the Razor762 in marketing, and branding and stuff, I guess. But, your Form 4 said Razor. Okay, your Form 4 just said Razor. And the silencer said Razor. So we called it the Razor. All right, so I bought one a long time ago. Before I had even started Pew Science, I had bought a Razor. Been using the Razor for a while, man. Always called it the Razor. Wrote reviews for Pew Science for 308 bolt action, and even the MK18. And what did I call it? The Razor. So guess who had to update parts of the website when the Razor556 came out? This guy. Yeah. No, I didn't update the old Razor762 articles, but I did update the rankings table in section 7. That's right. So folks can easily see which results are for the Razor762 and the Razor556 now that they have both been tested on the MK18, which can be super confusing for people, not to mention new silencer consumers that may not even understand the difference between the two silencers at all. And then some people might not even know that 2 of them exist. So I wanted to cover that in the topic today, and along with the technical information, the test data, and the analysis from the review. I think all of that will be good. I think it's prudent. I think all of this is prudent to discuss, and I think it'll fit right in with the performance discussion, and probably I think, and it's my hope that it's going to clarify a lot of things that I've seen mentioned online. About this silencer in particular. I think that needs to happen, and there's been so much talk. It's kind of crazy, actually. I really, sometimes I want to tell people, I was going to say take a chill pill, but maybe I want to be like chill, homie. And I know that's probably saying the same thing, but I don't know, the intonation might matter. Okay, so the first things first, I want to let everyone know that all of the testing and analysis for every rugged silencer, including this one, has been 100% internally funded by Pew Science. Okay? In fact, in the very, and some of you might not know this, so story time. In the very early days of Pew Science, my personal rugged silencers were used in R&D. That's right. This is one of the reasons why you see the rugged Oculus on the homepage of pewscience.com. That's right. That wonderful picture there that's taken there on the Beretta 71. Yeah, good pistol, by the way. There's another Easter egg actually. If you're into this weird Pew Science trivia, Those of you who remember the old Pew Science logo on Instagram before I changed it, and also on the letterhead in my newsletters and the deliverables that clients get and stuff, the waveform logo you see in that waveform, that picture, that is that's a fingerprint from the rugged Oculus on a 22 bolt action rifle. Excuse me. Yeah, so that's actually that logo is it looks like a squiggle, like someone drew a waveform. No, that's real data. And that's from the Oculus. It's actually, the Oculus has one of the cleanest, most consistent fingerprints of any 22 silencer I've tested. And so I found it fascinating. And it was in the early days of Pew Science, like back when, like, gosh, you ever seen those pictures where, Bill Gates is in his garage with like his big old glasses on or something, or like, and he's like from the early days, like that's what the Pew Science, like that's the time, that's when like PewSoft was like not in its current form, and it was all crazy, and like I'm sitting there like look like a mad scientist guy doing crazy stuff at all hours of the night. Like that's, the Oculus was with me during that time, and so that's kind of why I put on there. So, rugged, I've had rugged silencers for a long time. It just always kind of stuck with me. So when I heard that Rugged released a 556 Razor, I was surprised, and I was kind of excited because I had no idea that they were going to release that. Like, I'm not really in that world where I know, every silencer that's going to come out. And frankly, I don't really want to be in that world. It's like way too much to keep track of. And since I don't sell silencers, like I'm actually really not interested in a lot of that, because I just don't have time to track it all. And really my job is to get information to the industry when it's needed. Okay. So to the extent that I need to know about something coming, well, I hope I do. But if I don't, well, I usually get to it. Right. So with this one, I was able to get a hold of one to test. And I called Rugged, and I told them what I was going to do with it, because I kind of had a personal interest in it, and I got a lot of requests for it. And so, I had a great conversation with them, and I told them I would let them know when I was finished, with what I was going to do with it. And they said, okay. I said, sure. I said, okay. I'll let, they said, we'll wait for you to speak with us. I said, okay. So I did, and I did what I was going to do, and then and then we talked again about the results there, and it turns out that my testing and analysis of this thing, this Razor 556 on 556, it ends up that it supports the conclusions that Rugged had made when they developed the silencer and what they have told consumers after releasing the silencer. So, and in my humble opinion, I will say, I think that this data release ties all of this up in a neat little bow, dude. It's and to go along with all of that, I personally learned some really neat stuff during the testing and during the analysis, and I would like to share that with you today. I would. And so I just wanted to say, thanks to Rugged for being so open and willing to speak with me about this. I had some pretty candid conversations with them, and I will say that is not typical. It's definitely not the case with everybody. So for them to do that with me, I really appreciated it, and it was very professional, and I'm happy to explain the performance of their silencer. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up the old review here on pewscience.com, and you can follow on the home if you like, and if you don't want to, that's okay too. I realize some of you are driving. Please don't read Pew Science and drive. You'll be drunk with power. No. He's drunk with power. Let me get a drink of water 1 second. Oh my God. That sickness might have fried my brain. Okay, what else is new? How many brain cells does he have left? Oh my God, he's gone off the rails. He just started. All right, I pulled it up. I pulled up the member review. Sound Signature Review 676. It's 76 articles. That's crazy. Razor556 in the Mark 18. Now, remember, in Review 658, at the end of November of last year, I did the Razor762 in the Mark 18. That's right. So that's a very, very, very good comparison for you. Yeah. This is such an important thing. And what a fortuitous situation we have here. We have both. Yeah. I couldn't have planned it better if I tried. To have it already had proliferated in several articles. People were very aware of the true performance of the Razor762 on the Mark 18, and a very prolific silencer, very common, out for a long time. You got really great data on it that really, and frankly, I don't want to go off on the Razor762 for too long right now, but I will say it has been a very long time since someone saw a review of the Razor762 on 556 that was correct, right? Because when that thing first came out, people put it on 556 ARs, and some people said, "Oh my God, this sounds so awesome!" And then, like, the people that bought the silencer, like me, were like, "It's really cool silencer, but I feel like it's a little bit loud." And what did the data show? Well, the data agreed with user experience, right? That's like the whole point of all this. So yeah, so that was cool. So the fact that exists and existed, without any knowledge of the Razor556 even being born, that's good, right? Because it's a good test case for this for this entire methodology, isn't it? Funny how that works. So, if you were to go back to November of last year and you were to look at Review 658 with the Razor762, you would see that it achieved a 16.5 suppression rating at the muzzle. Yeah. And an 18.6 at the ear. Okay. And then its overall composite rating, those two things got it an overall composite rating of 21.1 in the Mark 18. Not the best. Okay, and we know that, dude. I'm telling you. And let's do it right now. Let's go to the rankings. Rankings. Where is it? There's a link, right? Yeah, I always make links. Oh, man. I meant to. Okay, whatever. Clicked on the link. I am in the rankings section, the 7th section of the Silencer Sound Standard on pewsilence.com. And scroll down on the table here. I'm going to go ahead and there's various methods by which you can filter and sort the data. I'm going to click on weapon system. That's one thing you can do. And I'm going to go down to where it says Mark 18 semi-auto rifle. I'm going to hit the only button there as I hover over. And what that's going to do, it's going to take the table and filter it so that you're only seeing test data that's public from the Mark 18. Okay, great. And what we're going to do then, I'm going to go to this table here, and I'm going to click on the overall composite suppression rating column heading, and I'm going to sort it. So I clicked it once. It happens to be that it's sort of descending. And so you have here the highest composite rating of the group, which is the Otter Creek Labs Polonium on the Mark 18, sorted all the way down to the Razor762, which happens to be the lowest composite suppression rating on the Mark 18 weapon system. Okay, so you can see that. So out of the published data there, the Razor762 is at the bottom. Okay, now keep in mind that overall composite suppression rating is it's an overall answer. It's a very, very simple metric intended to give an overall ranking. Okay, and that being said, I highly recommend you look at the muzzle and ear ratings. Okay? Please. I implore you. Do not use only the overall composite suppression rating, or you will have a bad time. Okay? It all in all, it's going to help you for quick and dirty for people who really don't care. They just want to get something that's hanging. But if you really care about what it's doing on the weapon system and you want to understand the silencer behavior, it's very important for you to look at the muzzle suppression rating and the ear suppression rating, okay? So, I will say nonetheless, there is an audience for a single number scale. And that is why the composite suppression rating exists. I am telling you, when we started Pew Science, we only had the composite rating. It became readily apparent it was irresponsible. From the very beginning, and maybe I'll tell you the story sometime, I wasn't even going to do a composite rating. I was just going to do muzzle and ear. And then there are too many people. No, that's a bad way to say that. There are so many people on this planet that it becomes impossible to meet everybody's desires and needs and opinions. So, when presenting information to extremely large groups of people, there are things you can do to do that in an efficient way, in a helpful way, knowing that not everyone will like what you do, but you have to do it in a way that probably helps the most people. And so what you see in the rankings table and in the suppression rating in section 5 of the standard is the form that I decided on to help the most people, and I think it's doing that. Okay, so I know a lot of people want to know a lot of technical differences and why this and why that, but just it is what it is. Okay, right now it's trust me. It's like if you're a techie, if you're a tech guy and you want to know all the ins and outs and all the nuts and bolts, look at the muzzle rating and the ear rating. That is more than you even need. Okay, look at that. You will know everything. If you don't even look at the composite suppression rating, you'll be fine. I'll put it that way. Okay. So since November, sorry to go off on that, but I see some people talk about silencers now when they come out. They look at that composite rating like it's, it's important, it's good, and it means something, but people are ignoring certain parameters, and it is gonna bite you in the butt, my friend. If you're only looking at one number, you're feeling that strong. And like, if you only look at one number and that's what you look at, awesome. But if you're only looking at one number and then you're going on the internet and proselytizing and like basically shouting from the rooftops about something, only looking at that one number, then you're not only doing yourself a disservice, but you're spreading incomplete information, which some would consider to be irresponsible. Okay, and one of those people would be me. I think you're being irresponsible, and some of that, it comes from some people wanting to market using Pew Science data, which, hey, that's their decision. It's information on the internet. You can use it any way you want, but I'm telling you, if you're listening to this podcast and you want to understand how these silencers work, look at muzzle and ear. So, since the Razor556 data came out in November on the MK18, and everyone's shot it on 556, and it's been out forever. It's like there's no secret about its performance. The overall opinion has been, well, man, the Razor556, it's short, it's durable, it's tough, it looks cool, the mount's pretty good, but dang, man, it's just kind of loud. And on 556, compared to some other stuff, right? And granted, we don't have a huge data set for 556 right now on pewscience.com, but it's growing every day, so, be patient about that. But, you've seen enough stuff to where you're like, the Razor is kind of loud, that's interesting, maybe not ideal. And, and the silencer owners knew that. I knew that, being a longtime owner of the silencer. A lot of people kind of contacted me and were like, dude, that's my exact experience with that silencer. Thank you for, confirming I wasn't crazy. And I'm like, happy to do that. It's part of why Pew Science exists, just to give people gut checks. And he's like, awesome. I appreciate it. So I knew that before starting Pew Science, and because I've owned it for machine guns for years, short barrel machine guns, and I kind of knew what was going to happen on the Mark 18. But something else I knew was that it had an option for a 5.56 end cap. And I had purchased that 5.56 end cap for the Razor556 a long time ago. Okay, so when I released the 7.62 data in November, along with it, I released a member research supplement. Okay, that was research supplement 659. So in that, I took the Razor556, I added the 5.56 end cap, and I compared the differences. Okay, and we learned a lot. A lot of learning went on. Pew Science members learned what happened when you took an overboard silencer designed for 308, restricted the distal orifice, okay, by just simply changing the diameter of the orifice. That's all. They learned that, and then what was born? Well, we had the Razor556 with 5.56 end cap performance scenario. It's a completely different performance scenario accessible to Pew Science members. And I published that thing for members, and I was like, you know what? That's probably the last time I'm going to talk about this. For historical record, I'm glad we did it. For completeness, we're done. That's what I thought. That's where I was sitting, and I was like, okay. Like I got my Razor556 performance. Have I tested it on 300 blackout yet? Hold on. Like, I can't remember if I published that or not. Hold on. Let me see. I'm in the rankings table. I'm gonna undo that. I'm gonna go to silencer. I'm going to select only the Razor556. Okay, no, I only have it on 308 and 5.56. Huh. It's funny. I actually forgot. I can't even remember what I... See, I use the rankings table too. Yeah, so I don't... Okay, so not that, but... but we had the 308 supersonic, and now we have we had the 5.56 supersonic, so I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm all set. And what do we know about high flow rate small silencers on 300 blackout? I was like, well, it's definitely not going to be a world beater on 300 blackout. So I feel like I had closed the book on the rugged Razor. All right. So now, enter the Razor556. Review 676. Let me go back here on the website since I went to the rankings. So I'm back in the review now. New Razor, different silencer. Bottom line up front, 24.3 composite suppression rating, which is it's a few points higher than the predecessor, right? It's a few points higher than the Razor556 on the gun. Now, pay attention to this: 22 at the muzzle, 19.2 at the ear. So the muzzle rating jumped from 16.5 to 22. A little over half a suppression rating category. Okay. It's not a huge amount, but it's not trivial either. Yeah? And the ear rating, well, the impact to the shooter there, the shooter's ear suppression rating, not that big a jump. Not that big a jump. So what's going on, right? So why is this? Like, why is this happening? Okay, so let's get into it. We'll look at the data. Okay, we'll look at the data of the Mark 18 and see why that's happening. So first of all, I think it's important to talk about what is different with the Razor556 than and the Razor762 and the 762 version of the silencer. What's different between those two products? Well, it might help you to start with what's similar. Okay, the length is identical. The mounting method is the same. The diameter is the same. The construction is the same. The way they make it's the same. All similar. Very, very similar. The baffles are similar. They look like they're the same. The baffles look the same to me. Okay? But there's one missing in the Razor556. Yeah. They removed a baffle. They took it out. They didn't take it out. They just didn't put it in. Yeah. Yeah, they didn't put as many baffles in there. Yeah. And the baffles they did put in there, well, they changed the spacing between them. Yeah, that's interesting. It's a little nuance there. And then the locking collar is a little different too, a little bit. It's almost like a radiant locking collar, in a way. It's lighter. I think that's why that exists. It's a lightning feature. And then there's another thing, the end cap of the Razor556. It's different. I don't know if you guys know that. It has a larger bore than the dedicated 556 end cap that you can buy. You can buy that 556 front cap, they call it there, on the Rugged website. You can buy that front cap that has a smaller orifice than the 762 Razor has, or the 762 Surge and Radiant and everything. That 556 end cap from Rugged, the only difference between that and the 762 end caps is the diameter of the orifice, and you can buy those. But the Razor 556 didn't come with that, and it didn't come with a 762 end cap like the normal ones. It came with a completely different end cap. It's still overboard for 556, but this one has some recessed chamfering around the orifice on the outside there, and you can take it off. And if you take off the end cap and you look at the inside of it, it has a recessed flange in there. Now it's not like a swatch, like a cut flange, like the old SWR stuff used to have. That is actually pretty cool. It's not like that. This one's continuous, so it's not cut. It's just a continuous recessed flange around the orifice inside the end cap, all the way around. It's like you're going to a black hole. Like if you were to go to the outside and you were to draw a artist's rendering of a black hole from the outside of the Rugged Razor 556 end cap, and you're skirting around the outside at the edge of the black hole. That's the chamfer. And then if you were to fall in, hopefully before you get to the event horizon, there you have the flange, the portal to the inside there. And it's definitely not accidental. That's not like, oh, let's just make it look pretty. Well, I mean, because Rugged does make things look very nice. In my opinion, my subjective opinion, I think Rugged silencers are very pretty. It's one of the reasons I like them. Yeah, I'm big on looking good. I think aesthetic design for silencers is important. I don't want to put stuff that looks ugly on my guns. I feel like my guns deserve better. So yeah, At first I thought, oh, maybe it's just a pretty. I looked when I saw that when I first got the Razor 556 here, and I looked at it. I was like, oh, they're just making it look pretty. I started looking at it. I was like, no, that's a lot of energy just to make something look pretty. They had parts that could have changed. I was like, I bet you it changes something. Yeah. So, again, just to summarize, the physical differences of the Razor 556 and 762. What do you got? You got end cap, number of baffles, spacing of baffles, minor differences to the locking collar. That's it. Okay, so what does it do? Well, you get 13.5 ounces silencer weight. That's 2 ounces. That's a little bit more than 2 ounces lighter than this Razor 762, which is interesting. Oh, and the other thing that is not part of the silencer but is different too, the M2 brake. Now it's in half 28, and it comes with the Razor 556. Up until now, I don't think you could get that mount because the M2's always been 5/24. Okay, M2 is like one of the best rugged mounts you can get. It might be the best rugged mount because it's so light and small. It works the same way, and there's no performance differences with rugged silencers in the mounts because the rugged silencers, they don't care what muzzle device you use to protect the blast baffle because they're stellite, so it's like whatever. And the flow, the gas dynamics of rugged silencers are very simple. So the muzzle devices really aren't influencing that flow dynamic in a way that matters for you in practicality. So when I have my druthers, if I'm using a rugged silencer, I'm using the M2 brake. Because like, why on earth would I use a different rugged mount? It's like all the other ones are heavier and longer, and it's not changing anything. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's the lightest. It's the smallest when the silencer's disconnected. You know, you keep the weapon as short as possible when the silencer's not on it. And that's the whole point of QD for me, being able to take the silencer off for storage and travel. So when I take the silencer off the gun, I want the resulting mount that's left over to be as short as possible. That's, for me, something I like. So when I saw that this thing had a half 28 M2, I was like, say word? I have it right here in front of me, this little M2, dude. I was like, oh, they made it for half 28? That was a good move. So yeah. So those are the differences, the mount and those other features. So now you know. Now you know the physical differences, because those alone I've seen completely incorrect information on the internet about. When people are like, "Whoa, no, it's a 30 caliber silencer." It's like, okay, well, you know, okay, yeah. Well, the hole's the same size. Let's talk behavior. Yeah, let's talk behavior. Okay, because you might be thinking, which I shouldn't say might. Many of you are thinking, well, it doesn't seem like much. Well, it's because it's not much. I'm not going to tell you your intuition is wrong. That would be stupid, because you guys aren't stupid people. It's not much. It's not a lot of changes. Frankly, it's very similar to the Razor556. But the changes that Rugged made do change the behavior of the silencer. So let's talk about how. The best way to do that will be to look at the data, the raw data, the fingerprint, baby. Scroll down to figure 1. That's right. Figure 1 in the review. Figure 1A and figure 1B. You can follow along the home if you like. What do we see immediately in figure 1A, guys? Typical higher flow rate silencer physics. It's right there. You don't even have to look at the numbers, dude. Like, just look at it. Look how fast the blowdown is. Look how late in time the bolt closes. It's not super duper late time, but it's not early time. It's about what we would expect. But you know what's super interesting right away? And we're still on figure 1A, the literal first graph. The bolt closes sooner than the Razor556. What? Interesting, right? We'll come back to it, but you're already like, are you serious? I'm serious. Serious as a heart attack. It's right there. We'll come back to it. Okay, click off of that. Click on figure 1B, make that bigger. Okay, on your computer here, or your phone that you're looking at, your tablet or whatever. Should be able to tap the figure or click the figure and make it bigger to see it bigger. Look at figure 1B there. You're gonna see the shot 1 is in black, the shot 2 is in blue. They're overlaid on each other right there. This is when it is immediately apparent that something is definitely going on in the Razor556 that wasn't going on in the Razor762. This figure right here, figure 1B. What in tarnation? Dude, I'm telling you, something is way off here. It is, when I saw when I did the test, I do my QA, I do everything. There's a lot of stuff I do when I test a silencer. When I'm looking at the data, when I first start to look at the data, and just an aside, like, you know, like people will just post data on the internet and like, oh, look what I got. I'm like, dude, how could you possibly post that? Like, it takes me forever to like look through stuff to make sure it's right. So yeah, it takes me forever. So I looked through it all, and then I started looking at these features, and I was like, what in the actual F is going on? I was like, totally different behavior than I expected. I did not. I wasn't shocked, but I was like, and it happened so quickly. Like, I saw it so quickly that I was like, it might have been one of the quickest in your face differences that I've ever seen in a rifle silencer. Than an expectation that I had, than a preconceived notion that I had. If you remember the Razor762 data on the MK18 in 658, the muzzle blast and the bullet shock were pretty sudden, right? And they're coupled together. The silencer is very high flow rate, so they're going to be coupled together. That's something that P-Science folks have known for a long time. Be very careful when people on the internet are talking about like bullet shock and stuff. Like they haven't tested enough silencers, so they don't know what happens with all different flow rates and stuff. And so they're going to tell you stuff that's not right. What you need to realize is like almost every single silencer that you shoot, there's going to be coupling between things that occur from the muzzle, like it with a single point sensor. Like you're not going to be able to decouple everything. And so something that really happens a lot of the time with a relatively high flow rate silencer is significant coupling of muzzle jetting and bullet shock, just because of timing and the way the gas flow is happening. And in the Razor556, and you know what? Why allude to it without just pulling it up? Let me pull up. I'm going to pull up the review 658 because I don't want to talk too much from memory and I don't want to butcher something. Okay, good. So I just pulled up figure 1B from the Razor556 on the MK18, and you get really drastic shock and exit jet coupling that is just pretty aggressive, frankly, and very quick rise time as well. It's very, very, and in fact, the first shot from the FRP phenomenon, when you are essentially flashing, you're essentially providing extra oxygen to your unburnt powder because it didn't have enough oxidizer to burn and enough time to do it in. So you are, anyway, that FRP is extra combustion because of that. So what's happening in that FRP in the Razor556 is you're getting this gigantic shock, right? And it has this rarefaction. It goes negative in negative phase. Super happy big time there in the Razor556 there in review 658, and you're like, damn. And then the shot 2 there of the Razor556 still incredibly fast rise because you have a super high flow rate and big orifice there with the 556 cartridge overbore for 762, and you still get some rarefaction. It's pretty significant, but not nearly as significant because you don't have the extra oxygen to make up for your incomplete propellant burn there, and so that's why FRP goes away, and that's how silencers work. Okay, so all that being said, you go back to the Razor556 and you look at figure 1B and you're like, huh, the FRP in the first peak here, in the bullet exit and muzzle jet, the blast jet here, is not violent. It's almost like it's not there. I mean, it's there a little bit, but it's not deviating from shot 2 that much. And then the early time rarefaction is really not that bad. I labeled it in the figure as nominal. I said nominal early time rarefaction. It's really not even going that negative. It's like, oh my gosh, you're really, God, it's kind of weird prolonged positive phase duration building right after that. It's like, that's interesting. And look at the delayed shock rise on the front end. On the front end of the shock front there. The front end of that shock. That bullet shock propagating there at the Mach angle off the bullet there, that coming out of the end cap, and your blast jet that's coupled with that, it's delayed in rise time. That muzzle jet, it's not the strength. The strength is lower. Why would that be? Why would you reduce the rise time of a shock? Why would you do that? Or how would you do that? How would you reduce the rise time of a shock wave? Well, typically it's due to there's a couple of reasons why it can happen, but one of the reasons why it can happen from a silencer is orifice dynamics and jet nozzle dynamics. And right away when I saw this, I'm like, that end cap is doing something weird. And what is feeding it? What's feeding that end cap? What kind of pressure state is happening at the end of that, when it gets to that end of that last baffle, and you start to pressurize that last space, and then you have that interior flange of that end cap, and then you have that chamfer. That's like, what is different? What is going on? Is this completely different gas dynamics? And I was stuck on that for a minute. I was just looking at that first peak, and what is that? A time 29.7 milliseconds in figure 1B. So it would last from 29.7 milliseconds to approximately, I want to say 29.85, 29.9 milliseconds. So that first positive phase major shock jet, I'm just like, I was stuck on that for a minute. I was like, huh. And then when I saw the positive phase building after it, I was like, huh, this is different. This is a different silencer. I can't wait to go on in the analysis and see what's going on. Okay. And because this is repeatable. This wasn't just an anomaly in the first shot. It wasn't just an anomaly in the second shot. It kept happening. And then the late time action kept happening. Okay, it's super unique. This is a very unique fingerprint. Okay, I actually don't think we've seen this before. Okay, and I think you might be looking at the first time anyone's ever presented this before, this phenomenon. I don't think anyone's ever shown this before in the history of small arms, of suppressed small arms. Okay? You were seeing delayed shock propagation to the muzzle orifice of the Razor556, and if I was a betting man, which I'm not, okay, but if I was, I would bet you this is it's because of one or two things, man. It's either that freaking end cap or it's the baffle spacing or both. I think it's both. And one thing that I'm doing, and I think the end cap has a lot to do with it, but I am kicking myself for something. And this was just like a personal thing. I don't know if you guys care. You might care. I'm kicking myself for not taking that damn end cap off in the field and trying the old Razor762 end cap on it. Because now I want to know. After I dug into the analysis, I was like, because I don't do all the analysis in the field. Like that would take, I would never leave the field. I could just be outside all day. It's like, well, I am outside all day, but I'll be outside like all week, like doing it with my computer. I have done a lot of analysis in the field just as gut checks, but like, come on, guys, I can't. You know what I mean? I have to come back to the office to do a lot of it. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, damn, I want to change the end cap out and see like how much of a difference some of that geometry makes. You know, to prove it, because I do think that is like a big contributing factor. And so I'm like, I need to do that test to see. But it's like, does it matter, right? Does it matter? Because that part might not matter as much because there's other stuff going on too, and we'll get to that. So that was just like a little frustration for me, but I'm pretty sure I know what the baffle spacing is doing, which is a different thing. And I think I know. I think it's contributing to this too, but it's more important later. So I'm gonna get to it in a second, but not having that second data point of taking the old Razor762 end cap and putting it on the silencer, it's bugging the crap out of me, but it's cool. Regardless, it doesn't matter that much because regardless, this is a completely different fingerprint. Completely different. And if you wanted to pick the Razor556 and Razor762 out of a lineup, and all you had was their first or second shots in pressure space measured really, really quickly, like Pusoff can do, you could pick them out. You could pick them out all day, every day, twice on Sunday. You pick them out. The Razor556 slightly decays shock propagation out of the end cap, and not only that, the shock's less intense. The rarefaction isn't even as severe. And the really interesting thing is that the positive phase has a longer duration too, and that's where the baffle spacing comes in. Check it out in Figure 2. That's right, Figure 2. Click on it. Look at it. Look at Figure 2. Figure 2A, Figure 2B, impulse. Okay, now we're in a different land. Okay, we just hopped spaces. We hopped into impulse space. The silencer is acting differently still. It doesn't matter the space, it's acting differently. Flip back and forth between this review and the Razor 762 on the Mark 18 in review 658. Do it. Flip back and forth. Flip back and forth. It's a different world, these impulse waveforms. I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it right now, real time. Boom. I had the 658 open there. Different world, the impulse waveforms, figure 2 in both of these reviews. Different world. Look at them. Look at the difference. Look. Okay. So what are we doing? What are we doing with impulse? We're taking the area under the pressure curve, we're projecting it in the time domain, and we're viewing its accumulation. Okay, that's what impulse is. So that's what figure 2 shows, and this is what you came to see, ladies and gentlemen. This is what you came to see. Okay, what in tarnation? Why is it happening for so much longer with the Razor 556? Why? Why is the slope not as steep? Too. The initial slope's not as steep too. That's different. Why are the plateaus on the 556 impulse waveforms? Why do those exist at the top there? Why do you have those long duration positive phase impulse plateaus? Why? That didn't happen with the Razor 762 on the same gun. Why? Why does it look like that? And furthermore, why are the impulse waveforms more consistent? Why are they more consistent with the Razor 556? Why are they laying on top of each other more closely than on the Razor 762? Why? All of these things I just said indicate right away that the Razor 556 is more efficiently suppressing muzzle blast than the Razor 762. Right away, dude. We haven't mentioned 1 decibel number, have we? We haven't mentioned 1 decibel number. Not 1 peak, dude. I have not said one thing about any sound pressure number, and I'm telling you right now, in the waveforms, we are seeing a performance differential that is non-trivial. Okay? And that's crazy. And that's a big deal, dude. This is a big deal, and this is important to understand. Now, and you want to talk about why? Let's talk about why. Hold on a second. Oh, man. Freaking, sometimes I have to pop my knuckles because like they get stiff. It's probably not healthy. Okay, one second. I'm gonna drink of water. I think I might be dehydrated or something. I haven't eaten dinner. Still recovering, you know. It's like I don't feel sick, but I still feel off. You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? Let's talk about why. Let's talk about why this Razor 556 is doing crazy stuff. Now, we know the end cap's doing stuff. That's blatant. I'm telling you. It's definitely disrupting shocks through it. It's definitely changing the shock dynamics out of the orifice, no question. That's going to happen. Simple to see that, but I would go so far as to say, now, Rugged, if you're listening, you might not be, or I might have lost you by this point. If you're listening, next time, go crazier. Go even crazier. Make that chamfer even more aggressive and see what it does. Like outside of the end cap there, make it crazy. Could be super duper wild. I hope that was on purpose and not just cosmetic. I don't know, because it's awesome. I think it's cool. I think I would go ham. I would change that end cap. I would be like, yeah, let's take that chamfer and increase it, make it steep as a mofo. Now then, the longer positive phase duration in those impulse waveforms, and if you're a purist and you want to go look at the origin there in Figure 1B, you can see. And if you click on if you go to review 658 for the 762 on the Mark 18, and then you click back and forth and look at 1B, Figure 1B, both that one and then 676, this recent one, you can see that the Razor 556 has a just almost constant, continuous positive phase in early time. So it's jetting without rarefaction. It's pushing gas, and it's doing it differently. And you can see that manifest in Figure 2A. Yeah, that's right. You see it manifest in Figure 2A. It's a major flow change. You know, because they didn't shrink the orifice, you see. It's not the end cap, sir, ma'am. can't be. No. You can't do that with an end cap of the type they made. No, it's not the way it works. Because they didn't shrink the orifice super tiny or nothing like that. Now, there's that internal recess is there, but it's more of a shock nozzle factor. It's not. Your consistency gets better with the end cap features in 2A. I think that plateau you see and the longer rise time to peak, I think you're looking at a major flow change, and I think you're looking at a baffle stack phenomena, and I think you're looking at expansion volume, population U. You're doing primitive stagnation relief in early time. I think that's what you're doing. Okay, now remember when we were knee deep in 762 bolt action silencer reviews, and I went hard in the paint. And I used analogies to explain like how you needed to let gas expand such that you maintain flow efficiency in the silencer and you're able to take advantage of internal volume and track more gas. Remember? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Remember that? But what happens when your muzzle blast has a different jet diameter and a different expansion distance and a different everything? What happens when it's just a different gun, different cartridge? There are some tricks you can pull out of your hat. We have been discovering. We have been discovering in internal research here at Pew Science, in R&D, and also in this testing, which happens to be public R&D. We have been discovering that you can, I think, in a very crude and simplified way, create a similar effect to how you send gas to coaxial space in simple silencers. And what if, instead, you let the flow just all of a sudden expand and slow down in a big interstitial pocket after the first two baffles? What if you did that? What if the jet diameter and the expansion physics of the 556 cartridge allowed that to work? Would it be serendipitous? Well, I would say to you that you would run into a scenario where you end up trapping more gas than before. And you would do that with less baffles. That's what I would say. And now, am I talking crazy? Am I literally an insane person for insinuating that the Razor 556 traps more gas than the Razor 762? Am I crazy? The Razor 556 has one less baffle. Is this lunatic time? Am I a lunatic? Maybe. Might be. No, think about it though. I know what I just said is borderline insane, but think about it. It's a different sport. We're playing a different sport now, aren't we? 556, smaller jet. Stick with me. Smaller jet, different expansion time, different duration. You need to expand. What if you can? That's my theory, boys and girls, and it's supported by data, dude. This is the part I would not say. Look, I would not say this if I wasn't pretty sure about it. It's supported by data. The omega metric computation supports it. The slope, if you want to look at this, it will blow your mind. The slope is more shallow in Figure 2A on the Razor 556. Not by significant. It's not crazy shallow, but it's shallower. The bolt closing time kinematics support the conclusion too. The bolt closes faster in Figure 1A, dude. Flip back and forth in the reviews and look. I'm gonna do it right now. Just make sure I'm not crazy. Okay, what have we got here? After 80 something, what is it? Around 80 to 85 or something like that on the Razor 556. It's like 85 to 90 on the Razor 762. What? Yeah, dude. The bolt closes faster with the Razor 556. Is it a huge difference? Absolutely effing not, dude. It's not a huge difference. Is the omega metric different? No, it's not that much different. It's not. These are not huge differences. Okay? Now, are they practical differences? I'm about to blow your mind and say maybe. Most certainly maybe. Guys, look, no, I'm serious. Now look, and here's something important. If you're Pew Science members, please look at the ear waveforms in the member review. Because if you don't, you still might think I'm clinically retarded right now. Okay? No, I'm serious. Like, you need to. It's important. I'm not. I don't think. I'm not. I'm certainly autistic. This I am, but I'm not retarded. And members, if you look at figure 3 and figure 4, and it's important, you just look at those figures. And this is not in the public review. Sorry if you're not a Pew Science member. This is not in that. But members, if you look at figure 3 and 4, tell me you aren't seeing signs of higher back pressure. Okay? Now, they're not crazy signs. You're not seeing, Saker and polonium features. No, it's not. You're not super high back pressure, but you're seeing something different than what you saw with the Razor556 on the MK18, aren't you? You're seeing something different. Okay. And that, my friends, is the trifecta. We just created a trifecta, didn't we? We got slower primary muzzle blast impulse accumulation. We got faster bolt closing time, and we have distinct gas flow momentum measurements at the shooter's face. Classic back pressure increase. Classic textbook. Textbook silencer 101. Textbook Pew Science, baby. There it is. Okay? This is it right here. That, my friends, is probably one of the biggest surprises of the year for me so far. That right there in this review. And you guys, I don't know if you guys thought about this, but you can increase flow restriction. You can increase pure suppression by removing a baffle and changing the spacing of the remaining baffles of a silencer. We're talking about supersonic shock propagation, guys. Supersonic flow. And I was actually talking to an industry person today. We're talking on the phone about silencer companies and stuff. And I was talking about how subsonic suppression is easy mode, and people have already figured that out. I've seen people talk about supersonic silencers like they're using all of these rules of thumb from subsonic land. I'm like, bro, this is supersonic flow. You better check your code at the door, dude, because all the folks that are using all these principles for subsonic silencer development, and they think they're hot stuff, and they're developing silencers that, and you know what? And the reason I say they think they're hot stuff is because they say they're hot stuff, and then they're like, oh, we know how to do this, and this is easy, and you guys are da-da-da. And it's like, but then you test their silencers, and their silencers aren't working on supersonic. Well, it's because the physics are different. The flow regime is different. And this is something I learned during this review, and it's really, really cool with regard to and what a case study we have right here. Okay? You're increasing pure suppression by removing a baffle and changing the spacing of the remaining baffles. When you put the silencer on 556. And what in the actual F, like, seriously, like, is that not one of the most insane things you've ever heard? Like, if you're not a rocket scientist, and there are some rocket scientists listening, but there's not a lot. If you're not a rocket scientist and you hear someone say that, you're like, are you a wizard? I thought this was crazy, and I wrote it down on the internet. And now I'm telling you about it on a podcast. It's been there in the review. If you read the whole review, you would have come to this conclusion, and you would have been like, what? And I would have been like, I know. And then, like, you know what's really weird? Like, no one's, like, wrote me an email and said, Jay, you're an insane person. Funny how that works. Maybe they will now, because they're, like, maybe they didn't read it. I don't know. But that's what it says. That's what the data says. That's what the data shows. The data shows that. The data shows what I just told you. The data shows that on 556, for the Razor, you take a baffle out, change the spacing, and you restrict flow more. What's for a small diameter supersonic flow. That's what it says. That's what the data says. It's right there. It's right there in black and white. It's right there. Okay? Internally funded Pew Science data. No skin in the game. Literally doing this for the world. And it's right there. And everyone's like, What? It's like, yeah, dude. So what does this mean in practicality? What does it mean? It means, now I wrote it down in the review, actually. What it means in practicality is that the Razor 556 is a more efficient silencer on the Mark 18 than the Razor 762. Still overboard. Still flows enough not to be super high back pressure for you. It's a recipe for a machine gun silencer for 556 if I ever saw one. Am I right? It is. Yeah. Now, it's not as efficient as the Q Trash Panda on the Mark 18, which is another overboard silencer. That thing's overboard, and it sure is quieter than the Razor on the Mark 18 by about a half a suppression category. You know that's interesting. It's interesting that the Trash Panda is quieter than the Razor 556 at the muzzle by about the amount the Razor 556 is quieter than the Razor 762 at the muzzle on this gun. It's just an interesting tidbit, just something interesting. It doesn't matter, it's just interesting. Now, the Helios QD from CGS is also more efficient than the Razor 556 on the Mark 18. Yeah, but the performance gap isn't as large as the Trash Panda, right? So, and then, it's really interesting. I mean, you can scroll down here. Where am I pulling this data so quickly from? It's in Figure 5 of the review. It's interesting. The 762 RC2 from Surefire, that long, the full size, the SOCOM 762 RC2 from Surefire, on the Mark 18, neck and neck with the Razor 556, neck and neck. Yeah, interesting, right? That's actually kind of crazy when you consider how big the 762 RC2 is. Not optimized for 556 at all. Not optimized for 556. Now, the Razor 556 has 3 baffles, and it's doing what the SOCOM 762 RC2 is on the Mark 18. Okay. That's something to think about. It's important. Yeah. Then you got the 556 RC2 from Surefire, whole other animal. And it's a 556 bore, so when it comes to flow rate changes during rate of fire changes, it's going to be gas city population use. So you see, you're looking at these different silencers. I'm just going down this list here, on the table here. You're like, different world. You got a lot of different silencers grouped in this table. It can be misleading. At first you think, oh, these are all the same. They're just on the Mark 18. No, you got different physics hanging out in all pockets of this Figure 5. Every nook and cranny of Figure 5 is jam-packed with physics that are different physical behavior of silencers rampant in Figure 5. Figure 5 has so much damn information in it. Your brain could explode if you're not careful, frankly. You be very careful with Figure 5. It's very powerful. All that power, it's too much to digest sometimes. Okay? So you have these cases of overboard silencers on the Mark 18, yeah. There's been a lot of talk lately on the internet about overbore for silencers. You have these cases of overbore. The Razor 556, the Razor 762, the Helios QD, the Trash Panda, the Surefire SOCOM 762 RC2. You get similar performance from some of them, and you take that Razor 762, you make a few tweaks, you turn it into the Razor 556, and all of a sudden you have a more efficient silencer? It's interesting. Never before have we had such a case study. Have we? Like this. Think about it. You've changed 3 things. Number of baffles, spacing of baffles, and end cap design, and you got these waveforms instead of the previous ones. Insane. You guys get to see it. It's on the internet, dude. Forget about, the shooter's ear stuff is important, but okay, whatever. Without that, you're still seeing it. Oh my God. Okay? Do you understand the gravity of this data? Like, I don't care if you're not interested in the Razor 556. The knowledge we gained in this review is so important, and it applies to way more silencers from yesteryear, frankly, that are in the zeitgeist, in the culture, in the silencer land, in the industry, from AAC, from YHM. You guys, if you are a silencer designer and you're listening to what I'm saying, you are probably nodding your head yes, and you're like, that's why it works. And I'm like, I didn't know that. And you might be like, we did. And I'm like, cool, congratulations, you're smarter than me. But at least I figured it out on my own. And now we all have it. Okay? Now we know why. We see it. We measured it. We know it. We understand it. Okay? And you know what? I actually just said something a second ago about rate of fire when I was talking, because I was like, well, you know, because I was thinking about the 556 RC2 and how, like, yeah, it's cool, it has a tighter bore though, so the back pressure is actually like statically, like or dynamically with like a single shot or like slow fire. It's pretty on par with, like, you know, it's like with the Trash Panda, but the Trash Panda has a bigger bore. So if you were to change the rate of fire, could you change the flow rate, and would it affect the so-called back pressure on the weapon system and therefore the gassiness in your face, which is one adverse effect of high back pressure. Flow rate changes due to rate of fire. And what does that mean? Is that a thing? Is that a phenomenon? Are those physics real? Does it happen? Does it manifest? When does it manifest? And we saw it in the test. Actually, we did. We saw it in the test. Something happens to the Razor556 when you fire it. It actually happens early in the shot string. And I think, and look, this is another insane theory. Stick with me. It's fine. But, you know, but if you think this is crazy, stick around, because I'll hit you with these all the time. I think what's happening is, since you have such a primitive method of gas management in this thing, and look, that's not a knock on rugged. I'm speaking about reality. It's objectively primitive. Okay? You have such a, it's objectively primitive. You have such a primitive method of gas management in this thing that, you know, it's the simple take out a baffle, make more expansion volume at the right time in the right place. It's such a simple thing. I think since you're doing that, you're at the mercy of density gradients with temperature. And as you fire that silencer, you're heating that volume, that gas volume, and it begins to behave differently. Someone, and I don't want to call this person out, I'm not going to say their name, but someone on a forum the other day started talking about the silencer heating up and the performance changing. And yeah, sure, that can happen because the silencer can become less efficient if it's super hot. Like, okay, fine. Yeah, yes. Heating is real. Heat capacity is real. But that's not what I'm talking about right now. And I didn't want to argue with the guy because the guy's, he's just one of those guys who will, he's going to have, he wants the last word no matter what, so I just let him have the last word, because you could argue with this guy for 100 years and he's never going to stop. So what I wanted to tell him was that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is expansion volume where the baffle's gone. I'm not talking about the silencer heating up. I'm talking about the gas heating. I'm talking about the gas temperature, not the silencer temperature. And I think once you start heating that up, and it happens fast, dude, something happens. It has to normalize, and you start to get erratic flow. And you see in the member version of the review at the waveforms of the shooter's ear, it doesn't happen with the Razor556. We keep seeing that on Mark 18 where it'll be shot string dependent, where it'll start to happen like when you start to pressurize some of the pockets of gas, and as it heats up, it behaves differently. It's like you can't relieve as much pressure. It's like, because you have that primitive stagnation relief. What is that? At the end of the day, what is stagnation relief? It's expansion volume. When your expansion volume isn't isolated from the rest of the flow and I'm just shooting a number out, or I wouldn't even use a number, I'll just say a phenomena. I'll say when your expansion volume is not isolated from the primary flow by a certain ratio, I bet, or I postulate that you can't expand to that volume as efficiently for as long a time due to density gradient caused by acute temperature rise, because the molecules can touch each other too much and too fast. Like you need, those molecules don't have hard enough time. They're too familiar. They're a bunch of hoes. Okay, a bunch of hoe ass molecules. Damn, son. No cap. That's right. So this is a family show. That's right. I think that's what's going on there. So that if you're going to make a super simple silencer, just know that it might perform super simply and not be super advanced, because I'm not saying it's lazy, but I am saying it is simple. So this fire rate change that happens and that gas stack phenomenon, and silencers behaving differently on automatic weapons compared to slow fire, is definitely something we need to talk about. Okay, and look, guys, I knew this was going to happen. It's another reason why I started testing bolt guns first. A lot of people, they don't listen to me, and they don't hear me when I say we had to start with bolt guns first for a reason. You would not even understand silencers if I started with a semi-auto. It would have destroyed you. It would have turned you off to it. You wouldn't have understood everything, and we wouldn't have learned as much, and it wouldn't have been good enough. But now that we're here, we're starting to cross bridges, and one of the bridges we're going to have to cross is dynamic flow rate changes due to rate of fire, and we're going to put on our little thermodynamic thinking caps, and we're going to have to learn more physics. Okay, try to keep this really low level to be very accessible to everybody. I'm going to have to say something right now, and a lot of you are not going to like it. Okay, so buckle up. If you do not have high flow rate, you will restrict flow. Okay? I do not care who makes the silencer. I do not care what it is called. I do not care what the silencer looks like. If it does not flow, it will not be pleasant for you on a machine gun or a rapid-fire semi-auto gun. And that's the way it is. Now, you can tune guns. You can tune for heavy semi-auto use, but I am telling you, if you want to know anything about gun behavior, about true behavior, convert your gun to a machine gun and shoot it with all the stuff you're using before, same silencer, everything, and welcome to a brave new world, because every little problem you think you didn't have, you're about to see come up right now. That's right. Machine gun fire is different. Like, guns to me, dude, and this is definitely like something that normal people wouldn't say, and if it sounds elitist, so be it. Guns to me aren't even reliable unless they run full auto. Like, if I build an upper and it runs full auto, I'm comfortable with that upper. That's my test. That's my test, not Pew Science's test. That's me. Like, me personally, if I build a 556 upper or whatever upper on the AR-15 platform, what's one of the first things I do? I put it on a machine gun lower and do mag dumps to make sure it works. Why on earth would I think that upper worked unless it ran full auto? Like, what kind of like delusions would I have with myself? Like, am I that confident in my AR building capability that I oh no, surely this upper works full auto because it works semi-auto. I'm such a great gunsmith. No, you're not. Don't kid yourself, dude. If the dynamics of the weapon system aren't working in full auto, something's wrong with your gun. So we're gonna have to get into this rate of fire changing gas flow situation with these silencers eventually, and I'm actually not sure how I'm gonna do it, but it might be good to include it with the Omega 556 metric. You know, when I present that, if I ever do, I need to. I don't know, because the way I'm developing that parameter, like, it's the same as 762, just as the Research Supplement 640 says. Like, I'm following the same exact methodology when I've been computing it behind the scenes. I've been presenting figure 5, like in this review, in the order you would see, but I'm just not putting the number there because I'm like, you know what? I just don't think you're losing anything because you have the numbers at the ear. So I felt like I would rather work on it more than show it. And so I was thinking, as I develop it, maybe we can talk about which omega thresholds are required to mitigate significant blowback on a tuned gun. So maybe I can assign values that are going to be concrete. You understand? So, like, for example, like, if you have an omega below a certain number, you'll be okay, maybe, and maybe we can cross-reference that with Omega 762. Like, maybe there'll be like a decoder ring for Omega 556 and Omega 762 in like a chart where, like, you'll be able to use them, and you'll, like, when it's like, oh, okay, well, when you have an Omega 762 below X, you're probably fine. And then, like, when you have an Omega 762 above so such and such, well, now you can start to compare with Omega 556. or something. I'm speaking really roughly, but you understand what I'm saying. You see why it's complicated and why I haven't presented it, because if I presented it and then like you took one number, you would took Omega 556 and you compared it to Omega 762 without like a key, and people didn't read Research Supplement 640, which is like 99% of people, then like it would mean nothing to people. And then they'd be mutiny, it'd be a whole thing. So there's probably going to be more to it. You know, it's really complicated, and frankly, like I haven't had a chance to dig into it a lot more than that, but there might be another waveform parameter that we need to look at too. We might need to add one. Like, for example, for like autofire. What if omega is important? Because we already know it is, because it definitely represents behavior, but what if there's also another one that's important too? Like maybe there's something that you have to tie to omega. Because maybe when you change the rate of fire, something else in the waveforms change too. You see. What would we call that? Maybe we call it alpha. I was thinking about this. What if we called it alpha? You have two parameters. You have alpha and the omega. You have alpha and omega, wouldn't you? That'd be cool, right? I think that'd be cool. Probably should have came out with alpha first. Is what it is. I picked omega because, frankly, I wanted everyone to know the history of the word omega and where it really came from. Just so you guys know where the omega silencer and omega baffle was actually named. Please read Research Supplement 640 if you don't know that, so you know the actual truth. It's important to keep history untarnished. So all in all, I will say the Razor 556 is definitely different than the Razor 762. I think I've beaten that dead horse. And I think it's different despite the internet literally losing their minds about it. Okay, I think it's fair to say that. And now I will say in the internet's defense, the internet's defense, is the Razor 556 different enough to make you happy? That I don't know. I don't care what you buy. I'll say that. I've said that before. I'll say that again. I don't know, because I do not care what you buy, and frankly, your purchasing preferences are not only none of my business, but they fall completely outside of my concern. Other than I generally care that you want a silencer. I mean, I would like you to want a silencer. It would be nice. So and I hope you find this information remotely useful for that. You know, I hope it helps you. So in that way, I care about your purchasing preferences, but what you buy, I do not care. I do not care at all. So that being said, I'll give you my opinion. How's that? It's just Jay talking. This is my opinion. I didn't write this in the review. Let me get a drink of water 1 second. Okay, so I'll give you my opinion. I hear the Razor 556 isn't that expensive. People have told me that. I don't know how much it costs. I actually haven't even looked at Silencer Shop's website to see what the cost is. People told me it was around $500 or so. That could be plus or minus 100. I don't know if it's 400. I don't know if it's 600. I'm just going to pretend it's 5. I don't know. Okay. I have a lot of experience with rugged silencers. It's lighter than the Razor 762. The mount's cool. So if I were a heavy AR user guy, and I was going to go ham, like super ham, shooting my gun with a silencer, with a blatant disregard for the silencer, like irresponsibly, in a way that I know no matter what, I'm not breaking that silencer, and I'm not wearing any part of that silencer, and I'm going to shoot carbine classes all day, every day with that silencer, I guess I'd look at the Razor 556. I'd be like, okay, that'd be on my list, I guess, probably. Like, you know, all those requirements. Like if I'm a rugged fan, if I like the mount, I like that it's lighter. Yeah, I think so. And because you're not going to break it. It's not that heavy. It looks cool. It's not that long. The mount's pretty cool. It's not going to take you to Gas City, USA, like some of these other high back pressure silencers are with the dedicated bore. You know, like you put up a polonium or a Saker on a gun, and you start to do mag dumps. You can tune your gun if you want. It's still gonna gas you. I don't care. It's still gonna gas you. It's a flow rate problem. Like the Surefire Silicon 556 RC2, it is probably my favorite 556 silencer, and I break into tears if I do a D60 drum mag dump with it on a tuned 11.5. Gas is, I'll start coughing from the gas, dude. Come on, man. It has porting. It has higher flow rate than the Seiko and the Polonium, but you want to shoot rapid fire, you're going to overwhelm that flow rate in a hurry, my friends. So yeah, I mean, for the Razor 556, I bet it gasses you less. I mean, flow rate's higher. So yeah, that's my quick and dirty opinion about the Razor 556. Now, are there technically higher performers? Yes. You can see that on pewscience.com. There are definitely higher performers. There are. Did Rugged provide something that fits in the market? Yeah. I would say they did for the reasons I just mentioned. I just mentioned all those things. You know, all the traits about it. I mean, there aren't many rifle silencer manufacturers you can go to and say, I want to buy this silencer and I want a super high probability it's going to be high quality and probably never break. Rugged is one of those companies. I challenge you. I actually challenge you to find companies with significantly higher quality than Rugged. I challenge you to do that. I'm telling you. I mean, are there some? Yeah. There's some companies that are on par with Rugged quality, maybe even higher. Not many, dude. Are there companies with quality lower than Rugged? In spades, there are. Way more than not. Okay. So yeah, I hope you guys find that informative. I mean, that's a lot of information. I know I went a little crazy, but yeah. But wait, also, that's not all. What if, I will say this to close this topic out, what if you're an owner of a Razor 762 already? Next topic, that's right. Topic 2 at a time of 1 hour, 31 minutes, and 40 seconds. Oh, I spent a long time on that. It had to be done. Topic 2, member research supplement 677. That's right. The same Razor 556 I just spent over an hour talking about versus the Razor 762 with different end caps on the Mark 18. That's right. Remember I said back in the day, actually, previous research supplement 659 that was published in tandem with review 658 of the Razor 762 on the Mark 18, took that data, and I made another members only article, 677. So if you own a Razor 762 and you want to shoot it on 556, or maybe you are looking at the Razor 556 that we just talked about too, I think Research Supplement 677, this article is going to help you. The weight's different with the silencer, and that's easy to see, but if you're looking for actual performance differences other than what I talked about, you're going to want to check out this article. It's not free, but it's also not very expensive for the knowledge you gain, okay? This is like, I will say that much. In these research supplements, I go into very, very, very detailed ear response. I have been told by members that they have answered questions in detail about why they hear a silencer a certain way. Okay, that's what these supplements are doing for them. So if you're into that, cool. Like, because you see it on these forums and Reddit and everything all the time where people are like, well, I think it sounds like this and I think it sounds like that. Well, if you want to know, like, the real answer to that, articles like 677 are for you. Okay, there's a preview of it on the website, on the free website there, but if it doesn't contain what I'm talking about. To do that, you have to log in as a member, okay? So like I said, if you're into that type of stuff, dude, that's awesome. Join us. Check it out and ask me questions. And if you're not into that, maybe that's not for you. And that's okay. All right? I just wanted to mention it. Really short, really quick here, just to let you know, some of you folks might not understand that that's available. Now you do. Okay? Okay. Let's move into topic 3 then. A time of 1 hour, 34 minutes, and 7 seconds. Just wanted to mention that quickly. I didn't want to Didn't want folks not to know it existed because I think it's very important. It can really tell you some very important things about the silencer we just talked about. Okay. Topic 3, just going to throw this in here. Literally last minute topic. The AAC Ti-RANT 9M-HD. What a mouthful. You know, literally just got one of these in to mess with. Just took it into inventory. Big shout out to Peace of Mind Guns out of Utah. Pew Science corporate member dealer. Mason, sir, you the man if you're listening. Thank you for sending me this silencer to take a look at. I do appreciate that. He asked me, he actually just texted me one day. He was like, hey man, like, getting this AAC silencer, you want me to send this to you? I was like, yeah, dude, send it to me. So he did. Thanks, man. It's interesting. It's PVD coated, which is nice. Frankly, those old AAC silencers had some of those coatings really sucked. I don't know if you guys remember. The main tube is titanium, and it's modular, so it's got that main tube that has a distal tube, which I think is aluminum to save some weight or something. And then the first 5 baffles are steel, which is interesting. I'm like, that's interesting. It's very interesting, different silencer than the old Ti-RANT. Haven't shot it yet, actually. Just got it in. I've been sick. What am I going to do? Go shoot a silencer? So what I'm doing is I'm posting a photo of it with this podcast on the old SP5K PDW there, the old HK MP5K. Gonna go, 3-lug there, attached with 3-lug mount. And you know what? This thing, people are saying, and by people I mean the manufacturer is saying, that it's supposed to be quieter than the original, they're saying. Yeah. We'll see. I think I have an original Ti-RANT 9 in inventory, so we're definitely going to do some head-to-head challenge testing, aren't we? That's exactly what we're going to do. Because I want to know. If it's quieter, well, everyone's going to know. And if it's not, everyone's going to know that too. Yeah, we're going to see what's up. You'll see what's up. I want to know. I mean, there's nothing to lose at this point. AAC, what? Let's test all the legacy stuff just for the historical record. We don't want that to disappear without knowing, right? Right? I think so. So, yeah. By the way, and this is actually, I just thought of this, public service announcement. I know that short HK roller lock guns look cool. Like, you know, the MP5K variants, I know they look cool. Like, trust me. Trust me, I know it looks cool. That's why I have one. Everyone likes them. They're super cool. But make no mistake. These are going to be louder than the full-size MP5 or SP5K, guys. Or SP5, sorry. The MP5K and the SP5K PDW is going to be louder than a full-size MP5 or SP5. Okay? It's gonna be every day. And people ask me all the time. They say, if I get an MP5, what should I get? I say, go full size, dude. If you're only getting one, just go full size 100% of the time. If you like the PDW, like if you like the MP5K, go for it. Like, get what you like. That's cool. But what I'm saying is, I think everyone should have the full size gun, especially if you're a silencer user. Okay, so it makes sense. That's just my thing. If you're a silencer user, this is for silencer use. If you're a silencer user and you can only have one MP5, try to swing it full. Try to swing it, because it's going to be better for you. It's going to be a better experience for you. Okay, it's just a better silencer host. I feel like I owe it to the public to say that. Okay. So with that, again, I hope you found this episode informative. I hope you folks that were interested in the behavior of the Razor556 got your technical knowledge thirst quenched. Okay. Please reach out with any questions. I talked a lot of technical stuff today. It's a very long podcast. I know I said a lot. You might have to re-listen to some of it. Please reach out with any questions. tech@pewscience.com. Members, you know where to reach me to. And always, if you DM me on Instagram, I will respond eventually. It might be slower. Email is better. Okay? Okay. I'm here for you guys if you need me. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk with you folks again soon. All right, bye.